The Chicago Bears are making changes, and there are more to come. Connor Bedard returns for the Chicago Blackhawks. Caitlin Clark breaks the all-time scoring record for women's college basketball. Baseball spring training gets underway, and we'll have our Chicago Bulls / NBA Power Hour with our very special guest. That and a whole lot more as Second City Sports, the Friday edition, starts right. Welcome to the Friday edition of Second City Sports. We're live in the living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago, along with Miss Lakina McGee, which is she. I am Sydney Brown. Hey, that's me. You can follow yours surely on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow my Lakina McGee on the Twitter, X at KidSkirk, and the IG.
Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms: Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Please subscribe to our podcast. We are at War Media Podcast, WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including that iHeartRadio app. And while you're at it, please give War Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms: Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We are unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinion during our 2-hour extravaganza we call it Sports Talk Radio Show, you can always find us at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago YouTube. Type in those questions and comments in the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. But if you decide to troll and or do something silly, dumb, or stupid, I've given Lakina full powers to give you full ability and be a boot.
Toodles.
But before we begin, we must remind you can get Sports Zone Chicago not now, but right now on Roku TV. That's right. So celebrate with the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV. If you already have a Roku television, tap on that sports folder and download that Sports Zone Chicago app. If you don't have a Roku television, but you have some handheld devices laying around, iPhone, iPad, iTouch, your Chromebook, or your PC, just hit up the Google Play Store and download that Roku TV app and access Sports Zone Chicago through that avenue. So no more excuses. Celebrate with the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Live and on demand.
Anytime, anywhere.
And you know we will provide.
And we will be providing you with all the fun here on Second City Sports for Friday. Of course, we'll talk, college hoops as we're going, again, winding down the regular season. About three or 4 weeks left. Caitlin Clark breaks the all-time scoring record on the women's side. Connor Bedard is back for the Hawks, and a whole lot more. And plus, in the second hour, we're going to have our NBA Power Hour. We're at the midway point of the season. We're going to have an illustrious panel of experts, including one very special guest. You got to tune in, afterwards to find out who they are. But first, Kevin Warren did an interview with a friend of the show from WGN Sports, Jared Payton, and here is what he has to say. If I can get this thing going here.
What was your assessment of Justin Fields, his play this past season, and did he live up to expectations?
Yeah. I know from my standpoint, and I come to the table, I'm a supporter of Justin, because I got a chance to work with him when I was commissioner of the Big Ten Conference. He is incredibly talented. He is smart. He works hard, and he wants to be a great NFL football player. Justin has a rare combination of intelligence, of size, of strength, and speed. You forget how big of a man he is until you're up on him. He's not a small man. And so I just think every year he's going to continually get better. So I'm glad he's on the Chicago Bears.
All right, there you go. That's WGN Sports. And we got one more clip we're going to play real quick here. More on Jared Payton's interview with Kevin Warren, president of the Bears.
In the letter that you sent to season ticket holders, you talked about a fixed roof and not a retractable
Yes.
roof. Why not a retractable roof?
You know, just from experience, when we were building US Bank Stadium in Minneapolis, you know, we toured every dome stadium. And one of the things that I heard kind of over and over is that the majority of teams who have retractable roofs, they very rarely use them. It was a nice to have. And because I am budget conscious and want to make sure that we're prudent with our resources and our dollars, I think, you know, from a financial standpoint, a retractable roof, it would be a nice to have, but I would rather make sure that we use those dollars on the surrounding, you know, areas.
All right, once again, that's Kevin Warren with Jared Payton from WGN Sports, an interview that was that aired a couple of days ago. So, well, let's start with the Justin Fields stuff first, because I think that's getting a lot of traction. Of course, he's going to say that, hey, you know what, Fields is a great player. Of course, he knows it from when he was the commissioner of the Big Ten. So, there's a little bit of a not only a history, but sort of like, there's a little bit of a kind of like a camaraderie there between the two. And of course, he's going to say that, hey, look, he's a great player, he's a great leader, and such. So I think the ultimate decision is going to face with Ryan Poles. How much of a pull does Kevin Warren have with the football decisions? That's a whole different story. So, Sid, what do you think?
Like you said, it's just in case the Bears are trying to train him. Of course, you're going to say nice things about the player, and that's what I thought that Kevin Warren did there. But here's the thing, Lakina, we talked about before, and it's going to be an ongoing conversation between now and the NFL draft. Is how much can you get? How much can you get for this guy? And if they decide to trade him, and if he's your future, you don't want to say anything too harshly, so you can damage his trade value. And that's a couple of things I picked up on there. Now, as far as the stadium situation is concerned, here's the thing. I don't think a retractable roof was going to be possible, especially in the state of Illinois anyway, because we have so many other problems and other resources that we use that money for retractable, if a retractable roof was to be an option. And so that's what I think about there. But whenever and wherever the next stadium is built for the Chicago Bears, it's going to have a stable roof. And for our economic purposes, you want the events of the Final Four, the Super Bowl, and other events to come there. A retractable roof doesn't do any good.
Yeah, it really doesn't. And if you saw US Bank Stadium, which Kevin Warren oversaw when he was with the Vikings, it's kind of a similar situation where it was probably wasn't gonna be worth anything. So I guess maybe having actually get a dome or something that will. I know some people say, well, that's not Bear weather. That's not. Well, I mean, look, if you're trying to get concerts, if you're trying to get, like you said the Final Four and the Super Bowl and the Big Ten championship here, both for football and basketball,
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna need something to kind of like get folks to come in. So there was a report that came out. I think I saw this morning that the Arlington Heights, that the taxpayers not going to cover the stadium, so it might be coming back over to the city. So there's just so many variables here, and we saw. We saw your comment, Vernon. We're going to talk about that in a second about two veterans, but yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens, because it's going to be a long couple of months. That's all I'm going to say, especially on the Justin Fields front.
Yeah, and like we said before, we'll say it again on this show. When there's actual news and when we have Bears-related guests on this program, we'll talk about that. But as we said before, we're not going to just shoot the crap just because, of course, there's going to be a debate about who's better, Caleb Williams or Justin Fields, even though Caleb Williams is coming out of college. Is both of those guys the next Patrick Mahomes? Can Caleb Williams be the next CJ Stroud and all that? So you're going to hear a lot of silly trade scenarios and silly comparisons. And I'm not here for that, Lakina, to be honest with you. I'm here. I'll be here for the last week in April 24th, I believe. And that's when the NFL draft will commence. And me personally, I just can't wait for all this foolishness to be over. I know we have free agency first and coming up in mid-March, but after that, I just can't wait till all this stuff gets over, because all the silly talk will be over, all the lying will be put to bed, and we'll definitely see the makings of this Bears team for this upcoming 2024 season.
It's going to get very interesting. You're going to be hearing just a bunch of rumors too, so I think that's going to be the key here. As you listen to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago, Lakina McGee, City Brown with you as we to talk a little bit of Bears during these next few minutes before we get to the bottom of the hour. Of course, we saw our guy Vernon Fairley, who had his comment about the Bears listing 2 veterans. Of course, Cody Whitehair and Eddie Jackson. Neither really is surprising because he thought that maybe they got a lot of money, offered to them, owed to them, in the next season. So yeah, it's probably better. They've saved about like 25, 30 million or something like that. So that gets them back into in cap space. So Eddie Jackson, unfortunately, he was good his first few years, but injuries kind of got to him. Cody Whitehair was kind of up and down. There were some days when he's good, but some days he wasn't. So it was just it should be a surprise that both these guys got the boot.
Yeah, it wasn't surprising at all. You just basically covered up what I was about to say about those 2 gentlemen. Like I said, Eddie Jackson, he started to make a comeback the last couple of years, but like I said, injuries started to take a toll on him, especially for the amount of money that he is being paid for. It's just the juice wasn't worth the squeeze. And we talked about the offensive line up and down, side to side, Lakina. I'm not blaming everything on Cody Whitehair, but he came from the last regime. He was a bridge to this current regime right now. And from where the Bears wanted to go, you have to get younger and better, especially on the offensive line. As the old saying goes, Lakina, even in today's NFL, your infrastructure of your football team starts on both the offensive and defensive lines. As we said before, we'll touch on this since we have a couple minutes left before we break for the bottom of the hour. It's interesting to see what the Bears will do in free agency. They still need a center, which I think they'll probably get in free agency. You're probably going to draft an extra left tackle in the draft. You still need an extra pass rusher. I know we have Montez Sweat, but you cannot have enough pass rushers. And also, too, you need a wide receiver. We'll get into the wide receiver talk at another time, but I don't think the Bears will go, quote unquote, all in free agency. They do have to spend some money, but I want to see what position outside of the center from the offensive line will those resources allocate towards what positions during free agency.
I would say maybe a right guard, maybe an extra D lineman, and I think that's probably another thing. You're going to need somebody to kind of help out Montez Sweat, so that's another thing that the Bears have to address. And next, like you said, an extra wide receiver. I mean, whoever it ends up being, whether it's Justin Fields or Caleb Williams or Drake May or whoever, you're going to need an extra playmaker to help, to kind of, you got Cole Kmet, which is good. Mooney's kind of up and down. Of course, you got DJ Moore. You're going to need that extra playmaker to kind of, give them the extra target to hit. So there's still a lot to be decided here. That will they address it during free agency? Maybe, but they're not going to spend all that money. I know that. I think like Washington and Tennessee are the only 2 teams that have more cap space than the Bears. So it's going to get interesting to see what Ryan Poles does, because he's going to have to mix it up. And he's not going to spend all that money. I know some people want him to, but that's not going to happen.
And plus, whoever that quarterback is going to be for next year, you have to say, is someone that is Justin Fields. You got to have to save some of that money for him. Jalen Johnson, we know, is going to get paid this offseason, the defensive back for the Bears. You're not going to spend all your money with him, but you have some money saved for him to pay him. And also, you got to pay DJ Moore, your wide receiver, in a couple of years. So, like you said, the Bears are not going to, quote unquote, go all in and have no money left by the time the season starts. That's not how you do smart business in the NFL. So, like you said, it's going to be interesting to see what happens in March when the new league calendar begins.
And we'll have more about that. Like I said, we're going to have, various Bears, insiders and people who cover the Bears that we know very well and love. It's going to be a long, next couple of months. So buckle up, folks. We're going to be hearing all types of rumors and stuff. So yeah, be ready, and we'll have it for you right here on Second City Sports.
The Chicago Blackhawks, welcome back there / #hockey prodigy. Caitlin Clark breaks the all-time women's scoring record in college basketball. Northwestern got a terrible loss last night on the road. But the Fighting Illini, on the other hand, blew out Juwan Howard in Michigan. That and a whole lot more as Second City Sports, the Friday edition, continues right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too.
These new socks? They can be a real lifesaver.
And I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to Second City Sports on hashtag Fun Friday edition. We're live in the living color right here on Sports Soul Chicago. I'm Sid. That's Lakina. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80, SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
We're booking here on Second City Sports. You can follow my Katie McGee on the Twitter, X, at IG.
We have less than 85 minutes left of this extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show. If you have any questions or comments for us, you can always find us at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you.
Okay, Sid, where do you want to go to first? Because we got a lot to get into before we get our panel started at the top.
Let's go to college basketball. And the Northwestern Wildcats. The Northwestern Wildcats dropped a big game on the road last night at Rutgers. Rutgers defeated the Northwestern Wildcats 63-60. Jeremiah Williams led the Rutgers with 15 points. Boo Buie led all scorers with 27 points. Barnheiser was the only scorer in double figures for Northwestern with 11. But Lakina, Northwestern, they thought they got Boo Buie got fouled on that three-point attempt at the end of the game. There was no foul call, but Lakina, looking at the box score here from last night, you can't have just two players, Lakina, scoring in double figures and expect your team to win. It just doesn't happen. I don't care what level you're talking about, high school, college, or the pros. It's just not going to get it done for Northwestern. Now, do I still believe that this Wildcats team are a tournament team? Yes, but I think having these bad losses here is definitely going to affect their seeding come Big Ten tournament time, and perhaps when if they make the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little concerned because they lost one of their one of their top players to injury earlier this week. So that might end up being kind of the thing that that gets Northwestern from not going to the tournament. Ty Berry, who's one of their top veteran floor generals next to Boo Boo. He's a 6-year guy. He's done for the year. So with a torn meniscus. So that's really gonna be a big issue for Northwestern, coming down the pike. So if they don't end up going to the tournament, they end up kind of having kind of spiraling down. That could be a reason why. Not making excuses, but that could be a reason why that they don't make the tournaments.
Yeah, and we know this Northwestern team, they can get after you offensively now, but defensively, that's where their bread is butter. And like I said before, Boo Booey leads the way for them offensively. But you can't have just two guys scoring in double figures and expect your team to win. Other guys got to contribute, and like you said, especially with the injury to one of their senior guards, it's going to be a real collective effort for this Northwestern team just to finish the season strong.
Gonna get very interesting, but we'll see. We'll see if Northwestern can finish. I mean, they got a pretty tough schedule going out, but yeah, that's a bad loss to a Rutgers team that's had their struggles this year. So yeah, that might this another loss that might come back to bite them in the butt. Now Purdue no trouble with Minnesota. These are last night's games. St. Mary's no trouble at all with Pepperdine. FAU pulled away from Temple. That's about it. Well, Memphis got another solid win. I lost my place there, but yeah, Memphis got another nice win. Fairleigh Dickinson. Now, this is actually interesting because their players, I don't know if you saw this, but their players got stuck in an elevator going, on their way to the game. The way their gym is set up is that they have to go underneath to get to underneath the tunnel to get to the gym. And of course, they were stuck for I think like almost 20 minutes. The game against LIU was delayed, I think almost like about a half an hour. So they had to wait to get the fire department there to kind of get those guys out. And they ended up beating LIU in overtime at LIU. So welcome to the NEC, folks. We're just there. Western Illinois got a nice win against Tennessee Tech. Like I said, they're still right there in the thick of it in that Ohio Valley. So that was a big win for them. That's about it here. USC beat Utah. I know they haven't had a good season about USC, but that was a nice win they got against Utah. Now going into Wednesday's games. Let's see if I can get it up here. Oh, Purdue beat I already did say Purdue beat Minnesota, so let me get the UConn, no trouble with DePaul. Tennessee, no trouble with Arkansas. Auburn with a nice win over South Carolina a couple years, Sid. Michigan State, Michigan State coming off their upset win against Illinois. They beat Penn State.
That's 2 in a row for Tom Izzo's crew. They're coming on strong. We warned you about this last week.
Yeah, that's what Izzo, I guess, is an old month. Oh, Detroit Mercy got his first win of the season, and a one-man court storm against.
I saw that this morning. I was like, I've never seen that before.
A one-man court storming, as they call it. SIU with a tough loss against Belmont, trying to stay in touch with the Missouri Valley. Bradley did beat UIC, so that might help Bradley a little bit there. Loyola Chicago was a nice win against St. Joe's. They're right there, behind Dayton in the A10. So, but Drew Valentine and his crew are going to have to definitely got to win the A10 in order to get back into the tournament. Arizona State beat Oregon State. Utah State beat Wyoming. New Mexico with a nice win against Nevada. I stayed up to watch that game. It was actually a very entertaining finish to that game. So nice win for them over there in Reno. Marquette, no trouble with Butler. Syracuse, Adrian Autry's first big win in his tenure. They beat North Carolina 86-79.
Yeah, let's go back to Tuesday's action and stay local. In the Big Ten, the Flying Illini of Illinois, they get a big 97-68 win over the University of Michigan. Head coached by Juwan Howard, Chicago's very own Southside native. Terrence Shannon Jr. led all scorers with 31 points for the Illini. Coleman Hawkins had 17 points, including 3 of 6 shooting from downtown. Of course, you got to consider the opponent that the Illini played, but they shot the ball very well, 56% overall, 48% from 3. We talked about this for the last couple of years, Lakina. When the Illini hit their shots, they're one of the toughest teams to beat in the country, and they definitely use their athleticism, especially on the fast break. But when they don't shoot the ball very well, they become a one-dimensional team, and they get beat very badly. But consider the opponent that they played, I was very proud of this Illini team on Tuesday. Now the Illini is still trying to hang out there to get one of those top 3 spots, top the Big Ten Conference. They improved their record overall to 18-6.
Yeah, nice win for them. And like I said before, is when they're hitting their threes, they win. When they don't hit their threes, we've seen their losses, they lose.
Yeah.
So, and that could be a thing when we got tournament time coming up in a few weeks. So, yeah, that might be if they do lose, that might be a reason why. Iowa State held off since Cincinnati. Baylor with a nice win over Porter Moser and his Oklahoma Sooners. Dayton, no trouble with Duquesne. Creighton, no trouble with Georgetown either. BYU held off Johnny Dox's UCF Golden Knights squad. Wisconsin got a much needed bounce back win over Ohio State. Virginia loses to Pittsburgh. Kentucky with a nice bounce back win against Ole Miss. And Illinois State with Illinois State with a nice win over Indiana State. Incidentally, though, that's number 23. They'll probably be at the top 25 after this loss. But it's the first time Indiana State's been ranked since you got to go all the way back to Larry Bird when he and his guys went to the Final Four all the way back in 1979. But
before we were born.
It's been that long, and but a nice win for Illinois State for the Redbirds, for the Fighting Mark Broyes, as we'll call him here, since he's a Redbirds alum.
Yeah, Indiana State. I know a couple of people have been talking about them for the last couple of weeks. I'm sorry, I haven't seen them in a full game, but a couple of people have picked them to be the surprise team come NCAA tournament time. They may be, but with the kind of season this college basketball season has become, anybody could win, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and they got to get there first. I don't think they're going to be able to get in if they don't win the Missouri Valley, the ARC. There's a Missouri Valley Conference tournament, so it may not even mean anything. But we'll see. San Diego State over Colorado State. I talked about New Mexico beating Nevada in a thriller there, and I think that's about it for the most part.
Yeah, Syracuse upset North Carolina.
Yeah, like I said, the first big win in the Adrian Autry era. So nice win for. They've had a pretty tough season about Syracuse. Of course, they're going through a rebuilding process. But yeah, this should be a nice win, nice little boost for that program. Let's go to this weekend's game, Sid. Friday, Villanova and Georgetown. That's going to be on CBS Sports Network. See anything else of note? I think that's about. Well, New Mexico against San Diego State. That's at 9:00 on FS1. That should be a fun. That could be for the top of the table in the Mountain West. So that should be a good one tonight.
All right, tomorrow, Saturday, your schedule looks like this. We'll go through the important games, not the whole schedule. Number 10, Iowa State will host Texas Tech. That's at 11 a.m. Chicago time on ESPN+. Number 15, Alabama will host Texas A&M. That's at 11 o'clock on Big ESPN. Number 21, Virginia will host Wake Forest. That's at 11 o'clock a.m. Central Standard Time on ESPN2. Penn State and Nebraska on Big Ten Network at 11 o'clock. A big game for Nebraska. They win all their home games in conference play, but they cannot win on the road. This is a home game for Nebraska, a big game for Fred Hoiberg and crew. I know the final lineup. They'll play Rutgers tomorrow at 4:30 on the Big Fox Network. Florida and Georgia will do battle at 12 o'clock on the SEC Network.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead.
TCU against Kansas State. That should be a fun one. Just to go into overtime against Jerome Tang and his crew. That's on ESPNU. Creighton hoping to get their revenge against Butler. Remember, Butler beat them a couple weeks ago in Omaha, so they're going to try to get their revenge there at 11:30 on the Big Fox Network. Houston hosts Texas. That should be a good one. The Battle of the Old Southwest Conference. That's at noon on CBS.
All right, your doubleheader for the CW Network tomorrow is the first game will start at 4:30 as Syracuse will travel to the state of Georgia to battle the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, followed by North Carolina State at Clemson. Clemson has been one of those surprise teams this year in college basketball, so I want to see what they do against the Wolfpack.
Should be a fun one. Duke against Florida State at 1 on ESPN. That should be, it's always fun when those two play each other. BYU against Oklahoma State. That's going to be on Big 12 ESPN+. Wisconsin, Iowa, take the under, I guess, on that one. That's going to be on the Big Ten Network. On the Big Fox Network, a big one here in the Big East. You got Marquette and UConn at 2:00. That should be a good one.
They could decide the Big East regular season conference championship right there. So we'll see what Shaka Smart's crew can do right there for Marquette, the Marquette Warriors.
Yep. 3:00 on ESPN. Another good one here in the Big 12. You got Kansas and Oklahoma. So Kansas home to bounce back from their loss to K-State, and Oklahoma, they had a loss earlier. So both these teams home to bounce back from early week losses.
Did we mention Wisconsin and Iowa 115 on the Big Ten Network? Big game for both teams.
Yeah, Iowa really needs this as a resume builder, and like I said, take the under on that one. So
yeah, Kansas and Oklahoma, as you mentioned, on ESPN at 3:00. I think this is a bigger game for Oklahoma, Porter Moser and crew, since they had that game at home. Kansas has been a strong team, but they've been kind of struggling the last couple of weeks, so we'll watch out for that. Miami and Boston College on the ACC network also at 3:00. Miami's been taking a big dip. You thought there would be a top the ACC, but not so fast in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, injuries have been a big problem for Miami, so that's been a big problem for Jim Lernick and his crew. And Kansas got a big win earlier this week, so they're kind of a little bit of a high, so hoping to get a little bit rolling then down there in Norman. I know you mentioned Illinois and Maryland at 4:30.
Maryland, not Rutgers, Maryland. My apologies.
No, that's fine. It should be a good one here, but Illinois hoping to kind of get it going there. Maryland trying to get another resume building win. Tennessee hosts Vanderbilt at 5 on SEC Network. This should make Sid happy. Kentucky and Auburn at 5:00 on ESPN.
Do a little flipping, flipping with the remote.
Exactly. Let's go to the nightcaps here. DePaul and Providence at 6:30 on FS1. I know you mentioned Clemson and NC State. That should be a good one there. Clemson hoping to avoid the letdown. Gonzaga really needs to kind of get it going. They host Pacific at 8:00 on ESPN Plus. Arizona State and Arizona. That's not going to be televised, but I'm sure you can stream it somewhere. I'm sure. Oregon State. This is rivalry week here for the Pac-12. Colorado and USC on ESPN, and Nevada and UNLV. That's at 10:30. Also, Miami and San Jose State, and that's your schedule for Saturday college hoops.
Yeah, one more game for Saturday on Fox. Primetime hoops at 7:00 Chicago time is the State of Michigan battle, as the Wolverines will host the Spartans. Gus Johnson will be on the call.
And I'm sure Michigan will love to play spoiler for Michigan State. That should be a fun one there. Florida, these are Sunday's games. Florida Atlantic and South Florida. That's at 11 a.m. on ESPN. Loyola Chicago hoping to stay, right there near with Dayton in the A10. They face Rhode Island on CBS Sports Network at 11 a.m. Purdue and Ohio State at noon on CBS. Bradley and Northern Iowa on ESPN2. Also stream on ESPN Plus.
Big game for the Bradley Braves.
Yeah, huge to stay right there in the top of it. Illinois State with a nice win against Indiana State. They host Evansville. That's on ESPN Plus at 2. Northwest home to bounce back from that Rutgers loss against Indiana at 2:00 on FS1. Indiana, they've been kind of taking a little bit of a dip too this year.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. Like I said, Northwestern, they got to get that bad taste out of their mouth after what happened last night. So we'll see what happens. Both teams will be in desperation mode here.
Memphis and SMU at 3:00 on ESPN. This could be for near the top of the American. Rutgers and Minnesota on the Big Ten Network. Seton Hall and St. John's. This is a big game for both teams as they're trying to kind of show up their resume on FS1. And UCLA hosts Utah in the nightcap at 6:00, I should say, on FS1 as well.
Yeah, Mick Cronin quietly turning it around. I know they're 14-11, but
they've been playing pretty well lately. Though. They got a big win yesterday. So I was sure they would love to play spoiler they're actually third place in the Pac-12. So go figure. But even with their bad start in Mountain Conference, but I'm sure they would love to kind of get it going. They got a nice win against Colorado yesterday.
All right. And that's your schedule for this weekend in college basketball. You're listening to the Friday edition of Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid Lakina here with you. Coming up will be our Chicago Bulls NBA Power Hour with our illustrious panel and with our very special guest. You have to stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, in the between time, Lakina, spring training across Major League Baseball is happening right now. All 30 teams have reported to their various destinations for spring training. We're focusing on our local teams first, the Cubs and the White Sox. The White Sox, Lakina, Michael Kopech had to have a cyst drained from his right knee last year. His regular season ended a month early in September. He says he feels great. He's lost 20 pounds. Of course, Chris Guest signed former Royals third baseman Mike Moustakas. Lakina, I think I got the White Sox new logo this year. We the North, Kansas City North Sox.
Yeah, the Chicago
every former Royal player possible.
It's the Chicago Royals, Sid. That's what they're calling themselves now, and it's pretty funny. But yeah, I mean, look, Kopech looks great. I saw the clips of him after that surgery to remove that cyst. Excuse me, Dylan Cease, he's kind of played around with all the trade rumors been going around about in these last few months. So it's interesting that the over/under is like 68. So they actually, both, some of the various odds makers don't have them winning, even getting to 500. So, take that as you will. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if the Sox can kind of maybe make it not be too bad for White Sox fans like yourself to tune in.
Yeah, Rick Hahn, tune in. But I know Chris gets not the GM is Josh Barfield, but Chris gets the new CEOs. We call them all this White Sox baseball operations for the Sox. I know that he wants this team to be better defensively. Eventually, I believe they will be better defensively, but you got to get that starting rotation in order. I know you picked up Soroka or Soroka, wherever he wants to be called from.
I don't know.
From the Atlanta Braves. Of course, we mentioned Michael Kopech and Dylan Cease as your top three starters, but Touki Toussaint, no. Who are you going to fill out for the rest of this starting five rotation, and who's going to be your closer?
That's going to be, that's going to be the thing here. Like I said, how long will Cease be in the Sox uniform? I mean, that's another thing that Chris Getz is going to have to deal with. So it'll be interesting to see what the White Sox do. Now, on the other side for the Cubs, I think the big question is, okay, where's Cody Bellinger? Like, it's gotten to the point where it's gotten ridiculous. But yeah, I know that Craig Counsell's been very quiet about it. I think he's just focusing on developing the talent right now. I know that Jed Hoyer and Connor Hawkins have been very kind of try to keep things very close to the vest. But I think if you're you got Dansby Swanson, you got Nico Horner, Ian Happ, some of that. Kyle Hendricks feel like it's been there forever. It seems. Of course, you're going to try to develop your young talent as well. So I think for the Cubs, I know that they're picked to finish second, after St. Louis. Okay, we'll see. We'll see.
I guess it's going to help them with their recharge. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, I think if you're a little more optimistic, if you're a Cubs fan, but again, I guess the whole Bellinger, Matt Chapman, Blake Snell, all those guys, all those Boris guys, most of them are still out there. So it's getting kind of ridiculous, but what can you do?
Yeah. Do you think, Lakina, maybe I'm just getting a strong sense here. Maybe this is just me. I don't know. I'm all for players is getting as much money as they can. But do you think that all those Scott Boras clients, and particularly Cody Bellinger, are overplaying their hand?
Yes. Oh, hell yeah. Heck yeah.
Okay, I'm not the only one.
Yeah, I mean, look, our buddy Joe Lazowski, who is Sox on 35th, we'll definitely get him on in the next few weeks. But I think he pretty much said the same thing. He's like, look, I mean, all these Boras guys that are out there right now that's still unsigned, I don't know what they want. I mean, the Dodgers aren't going to give you $700 million they gave to Shohei. That's not happening. And the Yankees are going to spend a lot. So, and I'm sure some of the other, I know Toronto, there have been rumors that Toronto might want to open the checkbook, but they're not going to do that. So I think if you're Boras and the crew, you're gonna have to maybe, you're gonna have, it's because spring training starting, the season starts in a little over a month, so you got a little bit of time, but you want to get yourself in baseball shape. So I don't know, it's getting ridiculous now. I feel.
I think Cody Bellinger will probably take a page out of the Chris Bryant book. You're not gonna get all that money in front of you. You just have to take a shorter term deal when that money stretches out. I think that's what's gonna end up happening here.
We'll see. And like you said, we're actually going to have one of our good friends, one of our good friends coming on the show Monday to talk some baseball with us. So it was getting closer to the season, folks. So Should be fun. As again, this is Second City Sports on Sports on Chicago. Lakina McGee, Cindy Brown with you. A couple of quick notes here as we are before our NBA midseason power hour, with our panel. Let's start with Connor Bedard first. Bedard makes his return to the Blackhawks yesterday at the UC against the team that he faced his first NHL game, Pittsburgh. Now, unfortunately, he did get an assist in the goal, but Pittsburgh did end up winning the game. So, but even still, I think if you're a Hawks fan, you gotta be feeling pretty good because there were actually some rumors that he won't be back till probably like next week. So the fact that he came back about a week and a half early, that's pretty good. I know he's been itch to get back out there, but he actually looked pretty good yesterday.
Yeah, it speaks on the talent that Connor Bedard has. He still leads. Now he's the lone leader in total scoring points as far as NHL rookies are concerned. Still leads the Hawks in points, the team leader in points, and that's how bad the Hawks are without him. But it was nice to see him get back out there last night. He was still exciting, wearing a full cage for the rest of the year. It was the future versus the present as far as the hockey is concerned. Crosby versus Bedard. We mentioned the Hawks upset them in Pittsburgh on opening night. Things have kind of turned around for the better for Pittsburgh, even though they've been slightly above water this year. But the Blackhawks, as we mentioned, this season was a wash. They're starting to rebuild their infrastructure. It's going to take another 3 years, in my opinion, for them to be considered a playoff contender. So we'll see how this works. But it's all about individual efforts from this Blackhawks team, not just Connor Bedard. We'll see how this group finishes the season out. Assuming that Connor Bedard doesn't get hurt, you truly will get an evaluation of not just him, but for the rest of the team.
Yeah, getting Nick Polino, to keep him on for a little bit. Johnson as well. I think that definitely helps them to kind of build around Bedard. So we'll see if Kyle Davidson decides to add a few veteran pieces. So we'll just see what happens with that. Now, of course, we want to give a shout out to Caitlin Clark, who broke the all-time scoring record, passing Kelsey Plum in women's college hoops against Michigan, as Iowa had no trouble with them. And interesting that they had this game on Peacock.
That's the same thing I said. That's the only thing they killed it last night. It wasn't on ESPN. It wasn't anywhere else. It was on Peacock. And shout out to the folks at Peacock. But that's what I said before. Looking, I'll say it again. Even though women's college basketball ratings are up, for moments like that, you can't just have it exclusively on streaming. You got to have it on ESPN, ESPN2, somewhere where more people, especially casual fans like yours truly, can watch the game.
This would have been a good game to have on NBC, just saying, especially for a big moment like this. Or even release on the big Fox Network or ABC. So I don't know what the mindset is there, but it'll be interesting to see how this goes in March. We'll get to it as we get closer and closer to it, but I kind of feel like, the Iowa team, if you can neutralize, you're not going to stop her if you neutralize some people around her. Because if you remember against Nebraska, Jazz Shelley from Nebraska, she hit that 3-pointer, and that was actually ended up being the only lead that Nebraska had to end up winning it. So yeah, you give Caitlin props. She's got like records all up the wazoo, and assists and points and such. But I'm not going to say her career won't mean anything unless she wins a championship. But some people are going to feel that way.
All right, stay tuned for more sports and more fun as Second City Sports for the Friday Fun Edition continues with our Chicago Bulls NBA Power Hour with our illustrious panel and featuring a very special guest. I'm Sid, that's Lakina. You're listening to Sports Zone Chicago.
No, I don't know though. I'm scared. You're so
Do you know that you're in my lane?
No, not at all.
Are you not paying attention? Are you texting?
I was just checking in with my mom. I was telling her that I thought we'd be home by 6.
It's okay. There's enough time. Just pay attention.
I'm not even halfway through my text. There's no way. I'm not even going to look up.
My babies are in the car. You have to pay attention.
It's just supposed to be a quick text. I'm so sorry.
Hi, I'm Tom Brady, the director of DODEA. September is National Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. The simple act of reaching out and caring for those in our communities is something we all can do. Just being there for someone you care about can be a tremendous first step in getting them access to confidential resources and support that they need. It only takes one person and one small act and 1 minute to make a difference. Let's make a difference.
Many will hear the calling. Few will earn the title. United States Marine. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Second City Sports Friday Fun Edition. We're live in the living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid, that's Lakino. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at CK80. Once again, it's CK80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow Makita McGee on the Twitter, X, and Kills on the IG.
If you have any questions or comments, especially for our next group of guests as we enter our Chicago Bulls NBA Power Hour, you can find us at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. And just a daily reminder, you can catch Sports Zone Chicago right now, available on Roku TV.
All right, Sid, I think all of our panelists here, including our special guests. Yeah, so introduce them, please.
First up, he's the correspondent for On Air Daily Content. He's the sports editor and reporter. He's our good buddy. We always love having him on the panel. Here's the one and the only Mr. Joshua M. Hicks. Joshua, welcome back to the program.
What's up, Sid and Lakina? Glad to be back. It's been a while. I hope all is well with everybody.
Yeah. Same here. All right, Sid. Let's introduce one of our good friends. We haven't had him on. We've had him on before. It's been a minute since we had him on, but he is the co-host of the Bow podcast, Bow on Sports. Also, too, you can catch him with another of our good friends, Matt Peck and Will Gottlieb, and more here on CHGO Bulls. He is the one, the only, the terrific Mr. Big Dave Watson. Dave, how are you?
Hey. Peace. What's going on, y'all? Thank y'all for having me again. It's good to see all y'all, man.
Yeah, nice to see you again, Big Dave. And you and Matt, as usual, put out great work on CHGO, so we love having you here.
You, brother.
Yeah, and here's our closer, the big and tall guy, as far as his impact on sports media is concerned. Pardon my Ozzie Guillen there. You see him on ESPN's page 2. You see him in Slam Magazine. He's doing great work for the Chicago Sun-Times. You enjoyed his work throughout the years, making his Second City Sports debut. Chicago's very own Mr. Robert Scoob Jackson. Scoob, welcome to the program. How are you?
What's happening, everybody? How y'all doing?
We're doing great. How about you?
Peace.
I can't complain, man.
Yeah, before we get started, Scoob, I just wanted to say I'm personally humbled and honored to have you on our program today. I've been a big fan of yours for a long time, going back to Slam Magazine. And just real quick, I remember the first time I heard you, Mike Murphy and Fred Humer, they brought you on 670 to score during the Bulls and Jazz series back in the day for the NBA Finals. And you and Leon Rogers and Stephen Bartle, for those of you that grew up in the Chicagoland area in the early 2000s, You guys had a sports show called Sports Unplugged on Power 92. Yeah, I enjoyed you out there.
That was the show. That was the show.
Yeah.
That was the show. That was a special time. We did a remix version of that. We've been trying to bring it back. It's we need to do a 30 for 30 on that show alone.
Yes, because real quick, you could use this clip. What I'm about to say right now. I remember you guys were being on for an hour, and I was so mad because they did a special Bulu Master remix from like 11 to 12. I was like, these guys should be on for another hour. And then, of course, a few months later, you guys were on for 10 to noon every Sunday. Especially, you guys were on during the time the Bears were making that move with Lovie Smith and getting to the Super Bowl and during that time. So I really enjoyed you guys' program. I wish it was on a little bit longer, but you guys were doing great work.
We do, man. Look, we became in a short period of time the #1 show in our time slot on Sunday.
Yeah,
and that's a hard thing to do. That's a hard thing to do with black folks because we in church.
Yes,
right.
So if we get the #1 Sunday show in the middle of like from 11 to 1 in Chicago, like across AM and FM stations, that was a hard thing to pull off, man. So we were really proud of that show, and it shows you, and everybody here is in the business. It shows you how hard the business is that when you have a #1 show in your time slot, and you can't get back on the air with a show, it's tough.
Yeah,
it's rough out here in these black media streets.
Hey, real quick.
It's real.
Hey, real quick. I just want to nerd out real quick because Scoop, I've been a fan for I don't know how long, bro. Like it's been a very long time. I've been a fan of yours.
That, bro. Appreciate it.
Like I've been wanting to get you on CHGO Bulls, and now that I know I got a contact with you, I'm definitely gonna make that happen. Like it's so much stuff I want to say. I'm kind of nerding out right now and tripping. You know what I'm saying?
We get it when
it's all love.
When I come on your square, we good. We good.
Oh, we gonna get it right, bro. Hey, I got people that go back to Martin Luther with you, bro. Like, hey, man.
Wow. Okay, yeah. No, that's history. That's history.
Yeah, absolutely.
I remember.
All right, Lakina.
Yeah, I remember Scoop all the way back when he was on Slam magazine. That was kind of like the big, like hoops, thing, especially for us '90s kids, growing up, and just amazing. It's a pleasure to have you on, Scoop. This is very exciting.
Thank you. No problem. Slam is celebrating its 30th year anniversary this year.
Yep.
So
yeah. Nice.
Yeah, those covers were iconic.
Yeah, and here's some news I'll give y'all that's not even public yet. The publisher of the magazine, Dennis Page, we just found out 2 days ago that he's getting inducted into the NBA Hall of Fame next year for the magazine.
Okay.
So it's kind of cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
Cool. Very cool. Very cool. Excited to have all of you guys on. I know we've been relevant having Scoop with us, but yeah, I think it's great to have all of you guys here. And I think for all of our cities, we're going to keep the Bulls talk to a minimum. So I think for everyone's sanity, especially. Okay, let's talk. Okay, we'll just get out the way. The Bulls are in the 9th spots in the Eastern Conference, so they're right there in playing territory, which we all figured there would be. So. Do you guys think they can go a little bit higher? They can get 7 seeds. Scoop, I'll start with you.
You know what? That's a good question. Here's the way I went into this Bull season with as far as expectations were concerned. Can they win a final play-in game? Because to me, that's the difference that should be the difference between last year and this year. Last year, they lost that play-in game to Miami, and Miami proved what their worth was by at least getting to the NBA Finals. So that kind of excused the Bulls from us dogging them all season long, knowing that the team that they could have gotten in with at least made it to the finals. So you had to come back stronger. My thing is that should have been their goal all this year. Can they win that game? Can they be the team that wins that game? Now, with me as an organization, if that's my goal, then inside of that goal, part of that is not to be in that situation this year. To get above and have to not win one game to get in to avoid the play-in. Unfortunately, they have been playing the same brand of basketball this year that they did last year. And unfortunately, with like 20-something games left to play, looking at who they might have to play because they might have to go through Miami again, can they win that one game to get into the play-in tournament? And we don't have an answer. we're exactly where we were last year, and that's shown no growth. So, Kenny, you asked the question. Unfortunately, we're at like a hung jury in my mind on what the answer is of what's going to happen with them. We really don't know. I don't know if they can win a playing game or 2 playing games at this point. Does anybody? Do you all feel comfortable in saying that they can?
Josh? All right, Josh, you go first.
No, to answer your question to the legend Scoop, no, I don't trust the Bulls in any type of situation. And to be honest with you, just recently hearing, Casey Johnson on the Bulls Talk podcast talk about how Arturas Karnisovas' direction of what it means to be competitive really literally just means exactly what you said, was to get to the playoffs or get through that play-in tournament. It is such a disservice. We have been bamboozled with this hiring because of the fact that the status has diminished so badly that we went from them beginning of their tenure saying we got to make the playoffs, and we're not talking about the play-in. You make the first round, you get knocked out in the first round. Your next season, you say, hey, at the end of the day, we got to get better than the first round. We got to get the second round, at least minimum. Otherwise, the season's a failure. You don't make the playoff. You make the play-in. Oh, well, okay, let's be serious. Let's take this back a little bit. Our expectations were maybe a little too high. Let's notch it down a little bit, and just to make us look good, let's go ahead and just say, let's get back into the playoff and be competitive. That's an absolute disgrace, knowing that you are representing a franchise that is known for not just winning, but consistent winning in the ways that they've won with the players that they have. So knowing that and reiterating everything that Scoop said, no, I don't trust the Bulls to win another playoff game, play-in game, especially since last year's play-in was with all of your star players. You're about to go into this play-in without Zach LaVine. And as much as we talk about how Zach LaVine and the disconnect to the team and how the Bulls have relatively been playing better with Zach LaVine at times not on the floor, the playoffs is a slow-down half-court game. When that thing slows down and you need a bucket getter, outside of DeMar DeRozan, who else do you really have? Yes, Kobe White has grown and has continued to grow this season into potentially being that fill-in. But is his skill set compared to Zach LaVine where it needs to be to completely fill that void? As of right now, that answer is no. So going into this play-in potential situation, like Scoop said, playing against probably Miami again at this rate, and you're telling me that you have all the horses to get over the hump? No, you don't. So we are accepting another mediocre season with insanity. And unfortunately, if the Bulls don't get it together, which we highly doubt, they're going to be reliving the same thing. And let's be honest, too. The difference between last season's end of last season and this year is they had Patrick Beverly. They actually brought in a dog that could actually help lead this team that actually made the Bulls more competitive come the play-in tournament. With this second half of the season taking place this year, who are you going to get to bring in to fill in that void? Who are you going to get to help elevate the team, especially with Zach LaVine's presence not being there? There's no talk about that. So because of that, if the Bulls don't make any moves, they could actually be worse. They might not even make the play-in because at least you had someone that can come in and fill the gaps. They might not even make the play-in if they don't make any moves, especially during this buyout market prior to the second half of the season going into the postseason.
Dave?
I mean, look, Sid, Lakina, Josh, y'all know me. I'm annoyingly positive. Y'all know this. But I'm honest. Y'all know that. Like, I'm very honest. So this season, I mean, it hasn't been what I wanted it to be at all. It's what I thought it would be, but it's not what I wanted it to be. Can they be a team that does something to play in? I don't know. I can't honestly sit here and tell you yes or no on that. Do I think they will? No. You know what I mean? Do I feel like it? No, I don't feel it, but that's why I'm sitting here. They're the ones that got to get out on the floor and play the games and, see if they can overcome those things. Even the Miami series last time, they were in that game. All right. For me, I still look at Billy Donovan for taking Kobe White out of the game, who was your only shooter in the fourth quarter, who was actually cooking in that fourth quarter. He took him out for your boy, as you mentioned, Johnson, for Patrick Beverly. And then the Bulls didn't score again because they had no more shooters on the floor. And Miami took advantage of that. They were more formidable in that one game than Milwaukee was in 5 against that squad. Not saying they on Milwaukee's level. I'm not doing that. Please. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just telling you what it was. I'm just telling you exactly what it was. And they were definitely more formidable against Milwaukee. So Milwaukee honestly doesn't really scare me. Whoever else, Atlanta, who's ahead of them? Orlando. Orlando could be a problem because of the length that they have and the size that they have. The Bulls just simply can't match up with that. So when DeMar tries to go one-on-one and he's got Jonathan Isaac on him with a 7'5" wingspan, that's going to be a problem. Like, that's just what it is. I think they can make a little noise in the play-in. Of course, that's what I'm rooting for. I'm not going to doubt Kobe White. I talked about this on the show that I think Kobe White in the season that he's had, he has deserved to be given the benefit of a doubt. And because every time since he's walked in the league, everybody has said what he can't do. Everybody has told him what he was. Everybody tried to put him in the box. Oh, no, you a six man. That's exactly what you are. You're Ben Gordon. No, bro, you're not a starter in this league. You can't do it like that. No, man, you can't play alongside other good players like that. No, man, I don't think the shot is all you got. Your defense is trash. You can't do that. He has answered every single question and has turned himself into a straight up legit basketball player. Not just a nice story, but somebody who is legit. Like Donovan Mitchell talked about it after the game. Like, yo, in not so many words, he just said, yo, this dude is straight up legit. Like, he is serious about this, man. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. The growth of Ayo Dosunmu also as well. Like, you see the Chicago in him when he plays. You know what I mean? And when Billy Donovan talked about how Ayo Dosunmu, he used something I say all the time because, I'm hard-headed. And you can't just tell me the fire's hot. I got to kind of touch it and feel the fire so I know it's hot. You know what I mean? Like, some people can look at it and say it's hot and be smart and be like, no, I'm leaving the fire alone. Me, I got to go see how hot it is because I want to know if I can run through it. You know what I mean? Like, that's just my mentality. And he used that analogy talking about Ayo. He was like, Ayo, wants to touch the stove. He was like, he wants to know how hot it is, man. So I want the play-in for this team, and I want that success for them, more so for the young guys than for anything. I want it for Kobe, and I want it for Ayo, and I want it for Pat. I want it for Dalen. I want it for Julian Phillips. I want it for those young guys to have because that's the future. And I want them to understand that, dude, like, this is kind of what I want your floor to be is, okay, we go to the postseason. That's the floor I want them to be operating on. The older guys, of course, they help. Of course, that's fine. I'm not dissing DeMar, Vooch, none of them cats. Well, maybe Vooch a little bit. He's shooting 26% from three. But those other guys, you know what I mean, are fine. And I just really hope for the young guys when they get to the play-in that, I want to see what they can do. So anything can happen in that postseason, and that's just kind of what I'm gonna go with.
Can I jump in real quick and follow up what Dave was saying real quick?
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I think you made great points, but here's the problem, and not what you said, but just the problem I think we have to look at in general is that you mentioned like what DeMar is able to do. You talked about what Kobe and how his growth is gone. You talked about what Ayo is able to do, right?
Yes, sir.
The problem is you can't go down the line and say that about everybody else. You can pick certain players that will come through. And when you're playing against another team that has more than 3 of those on their squad, you got a problem. Mm-hmm. You mentioned Orlando's length. The length is no problem. It's the hustle, the grind, the intensity, the urgency that Orlando's going to play with when they play the Bulls that they won't be able to match. Like, who's going to come in hungrier? Every team that they either have to play through in the play-in or in the first round, they play hungrier than the Bulls. And you went back to last year's game against Miami, which is great. But I'm going to take you to the last game they just played against Cleveland. Like, we can book in those games and see where all the problems lie and what we're going to see in the Bulls. Because, yes, there was a shift in what happened to them offensively in that game against Miami last year, especially in the second half and in the fourth quarter, right? But let's talk about this game going into the All-Star break against Cleveland just the other day. How the hell do you lose that game? Cleveland should not be hungrier than you because they're not in the position to be hungrier than you are. But that's, to me, what's exactly going to happen to any team the Bulls play, either in the play-in or even if they win their play-in game in the first round of the playoff. Teams play hungrier than they do. And as they said in Remember the Titans, attitude reflects leadership.
Right.
The leadership from the top of the organization rises off all the way down to the coaching staff. Nobody functions with a sense of urgency at all. They're cool as is.
Mm-hmm.
And you cannot go into the NBA against young teams like Orlando, or if you get in teams like Cleveland or the New York Knicks, expecting to beat them when everybody on that staff is playing like you talk about touching the fire.
Mm-hmm.
Man, look, they walking around with the fire in their hands. They ain't touching it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
You know how hot it is. Yeah.
Right, they first responders. They first responders all day. Like, let's go.
Oh my gosh.
But that's exactly what I'm saying. That's what I wanted for the young guys. And you're right. I can't say that about everybody on the team. Everybody don't have that goon in them. It's a bunch of cool guys.
Going against people, but you're going against teams with that's their identity. You're never going to win if that's their whole team's identity. And we can only pick out certain players who's going to do that. We're always going to lose.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't disagree with that at all.
Squad, your whole organization needs to go into anything with that mentality, and because that becomes their identity, and that's not what we have here. That's not what we're working with.
Absolutely right. Which is why I continue to point out the young guys is who I want it for, because those are the ones I have to work on to get that identity. Everybody else is going to be cool and already established about who they are. And you're right. It starts at the top. Exactly where it's at. It starts at the top. The top is ass. They are trash up there. We understand that. And that's why the only hope, like in anything, your only hope for a future is the youth. That's it. So if I can get that mentality, I got to find a way to get that mentality in Kobe and Pat. Oh my God. And Pat, my God. And Dalen and Julian and those guys, because that's who you're going forward with. Like, that's who I'm taking these steps with. So they have to get in these situations so I can find out what they do in these situations. I know what DeMar's going to do. I know what Vooch is going to do. I know what those guys are going to do. And you're right. Those other teams are much, much hungrier. The Knicks are starving. Every time they play any game, they are starving. All right?
And I'm not trying to throw shade on your sunshine, my man. But
no, throw it all. Throw it all.
What you're talking about is something going to happen next season. This is not going to happen in the next 25 games.
We don't disagree.
Young guys are not going to So you're talking next season, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
What's
going to happen now.
Oh no!
Right, all right, cool.
No, we on the same page with all of that. We understand what this team is. We get what they are. I'm talking about. That's why I said the future. I'm talking about the straight up future.
Cool.
I know what I'm looking at. I ain't blind to that. I can take these glasses off. I can see. I'm cool. I know exactly what I'm looking at, bro.
Oh my gosh. We're only a few minutes. We're already having fun with our illustrious panel here on Second City Sports. Of course, we got Josh Hicks, Big Dave Watson, and Robert Scoop Jackson. City, you got this anything to add here before we go on to the rest of the NBA? Because I'm already getting depressed.
Yeah. Here's my Bulls prediction. They'll make the play-in tournament, but barely. Here's a couple of reasons why. One, I do not trust Brooklyn. I do not trust Atlanta. And like you said, Scoop, earlier, the Bulls will do just enough to get by, but you don't see that hunger with them collectively as a team. You see it in a couple of people, but you don't see it with them as a whole team. Let's just say, hypothetically, they get past the play-in tournament. You gotta play Milwaukee or Boston in the first round. They'll get smoked by both those teams.
Mm-hmm.
So you see them winning 2 games in the play-in tournament?
I say if they do. If they do.
No. Okay, let's best case scenario. They make it to the play-in tournament. They finish in the top 10. Do you see them winning 2 games? That's my question.
No.
I don't.
No.
Okay.
Nope. No.
Josh?
I think that's pleasant. I think Josh has said that.
Mic drop.
No.
And scene.
And drop the mic.
So basically, what we're saying is that there's been no growth at all, right? We're the exact same.
We're the exact same, yes. If you look at that record from last year to this year, they're the same.
As bad as the Bears season was, at least they showed some growth. They won 4 more games this year than they did the season before, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That's growth. What we're looking at right now is not even growth.
No.
That's
no,
sad.
you can say it for even how AK approached it in his conferences every year. Yep. When he first walked in, it was, we're here for championships. Then it was, we're trying to make the playoffs. This year is, we just want to make the play-in. Like, it goes, Then it's going to be, hey, man, we just want to get a nice draft pick. Like, everything's going to continue to keep going down because they refuse to change. Everything's just, they're okay with the status quo. And that's never good. They're in basketball hell right now. You know what I mean? Like, that's exactly where they are living. And the problem is they're comfortable with it. And that's the issue. They are comfortable in hell. You can't be comfortable. Are you comfortable in hell? They're comfortable in hell.
Once again, attitude reflects leadership. Look, we want to have a real conversation here. How much damage has Reinsdorf done to this city right now? As an owner, between the Bulls and the Sox?
Tons. A lot.
Like, okay, so if that's who is running things, if that's where the entire identity is coming from, the top. And I'm not giving the Knicks an excuse because they got Dolan to deal with.
Yeah.
But at least they got a dog. They got, they got some dogs under him that can like dismiss what he's doing. From Tibbs to Worldwide, they got people there that like, look, Dad, we'll deal with him. Y'all deal with us. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
That's not happening in the Sox organization. That's not happening in the Bulls organization. So let's get down to, as they say, brass tacks. You say you don't know where it's coming from. We know where it's coming from. I mean, it doesn't take that much work or, an advanced public Chicago high school degree to put those docs together to say that looking at the way the Sox have been over the last decade and looking how the Bulls have been there's a common denominator right there. So, I mean, we can't run them out of town, but we can easily pinpoint where the problem's coming from. And if we're looking for each team or specifically the Bulls, since that's what we're talking about, to have an identity, it has to come from there. It has to.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for all our sandies, let's go to the NBA. Also, so that's where all the good stuff is. Let's talk about. We'll say these and talk about Milwaukee first. They've been struggling a little bit since Doc Rivers took over. They're still at the top of the East, near the top of the East right now with Boston. So, do you guys think they can kind of? I know they made some changes, during the trade. Pat Bev. Speaking of Pat Bev, is there now. So, do you guys think that maybe Milwaukee can be the team to beat? Josh, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I think they can. It's going to take a while, though, and they're going to have to change their offense dramatically. Obviously, Giannis is Giannis. We know what he's going to bring all day, every day. But since you got a scorer and a playmaker in Damian Lillard, he has to have the ball in his hands more. He has to run the show. And when you let him run the show, he's not only going to create the space for Giannis to do what he does, but he can help the shooters because he's the shooter himself. And combining that with strong defensive tactics, which have been non-existent throughout pretty much this entire season, those are the areas that it's going to really have to help the Milwaukee Bucks really take that next level back to the championship level that they really have kind of fallen from. There's obviously going to be a risk when you trade for a superstar in Damian Lillard and give up a Drew Holiday and extra. But at the end of the day, you knew that coming into the season, so you have to replenish that. That's going to take some time. But I do think the Bucks can rebound from this. They just got to put the efforts in the right areas that Doc Rivers is going to take some time to figure out too, because of the coaching change, the way that it happened. It reminds me of the Cavs. I forgot the year per se, but the Cavs when they had David Blatt, and they made that coaching change to bring Ty Lue in. It took them a while to get it together too, but best believe when they did get it together, they won a championship. It's the same thing can happen with the Milwaukee Bucks, but it's really going to have to take some time.
Dave?
Yeah, I don't know how much time they got. I think that's the thing for me. It's so weird. Like, I think we all walked in feeling they were going to be dominant when they made those trades, in the offseason. Like, they were going to be that kind of team right there. And we just talked about, hunger. Like, I know Giannis won it. You know what I mean? I know that for sure because he's going to make these moves to have that happen. But I know Dame maybe wants it like that, but I want to see a little bit more from Dame. And that's saying a lot, talking about Dame Lillard like that. Like, for real, like straight up. But I don't know how comfortable he is in the role that he has, Josh. I think you might be on something with that. That could be something to change. But again, I'm looking at how they came out last year and why Milwaukee ran through them because they had a little more cockiness on them, when they got in that first round series against the Heat, and they just kind of got run out and figured they could put Giannis in there and then maybe, you know, we can get some games together. But by that time, you know, the dogs already on them, you know, and they made a coaching change. What was Adrian Griffin, like 30-13 or something like that?
Yeah.
And Doc Rivers come in, he's 3-7, and it's not that he's 3-7, it's the teams that they're losing to. I don't know. I'm not inside the locker room. I don't know the chemistry of it. I don't know how, you know, the feel of it, but it just feels weird, bro. Like it's a weird vibe for them right now. And they have to change it. They don't have a choice. I don't know how much time they have to actually do that, where they can be a team that is going to be scaring guys, you know what I'm saying, and getting you to an Eastern Conference Finals like that.
Scoop?
I kind of think they got hit by a tsunami of things all at the same time, and I don't know. I know Doc Rivers can't save that because it's gone. To me, it's beyond coaching. You need like a magician there to like make it happen in this short period of time they have to deal with. But I think if you go back, I think we can really track exactly how Milwaukee got to where they got. And it's more than looking at what they're dealing with a roster situation. I think we're bringing the word identity back into the conversation. We have to apply strictly to them because they chipped away at their identity over the course of the last 6 months that has them in the place that they are now. So to me, let's quickly go back to last year in the first round. It wasn't that they lost to Miami. It was the way they lost to Miami and the way Jimmy Butler just literally punked them. He took their heart and he took their identity and threw it out the window to the point that they knew the role that Drew Holiday played on their team was beyond just being their point guard and their defensive stalwart and the head of all things that they did from a structural standpoint. Basically, Jimmy Butler deadened all that. And he took all the confidence away in the organization in Drew Holiday. And Drew Holiday has not played the same since. Period. Let's not act that they kept him that he's going to be the same player. He's still dealing with the hangover that Jimmy Butler gave him. So he wouldn't even been the same player. Mike Budenholzer took the hit from a coaching standpoint from there. So that the organization's like, all right, both of y'all got to go. Because what Jimmy Butler did to them really just broke them down to the lowest point of that organization in recent history. Now you come into there and you lose two major parts of your identity, which is the coach that got you the championship and the point guard that was there that controlled everything for the championship. Not your best player, but the point guard that ran everything. You lose both of those, and that's a big part of your identity. Now you bring in a coach that everybody loves, but this is his first time coaching. Now, there's a difference between, Josh, what you said about David Black. You get what I'm saying? David didn't have that identity built up in Cleveland the way Mike Budenholzer did with this particular organization. So there was much more for them to deal with when the new coach came in. So when Adrian came in, everybody loves Adrian. They think the transition is going to be the same. Adrian gets there, and now they get Dame, which is a whole nother change. And this is the thing that people aren't considering. Dame is going through some stuff too.
Yes.
The Dame we're getting now is not the Dame that was in Portland. He has personal stuff going on. He's going through the divorce situation. He's going through not being with his family for the first time. So you're going through a legal situation with your wife. You're dealing with kid custody issues, and you're being away from your family for the first time in your career all at the same time. All of that's hitting Dame at the same time. And we can't act like these basketball players are just robots and that doesn't affect them. That's directly, in my mind, having an effect on the Dame Lillard that we're seeing right now. So you add all of that to the culture change that's happening in Milwaukee because of Drew Holiday leaving, because of not only just the exodus of Adrian Griffin, but the bringing in of him for the first time as a coach. Then let's go to the dog that they lost in Grayson Allen. And we know that from Chicago because Grayson Allen came here and punked us 2 years ago in the playoffs. He took AC's whole season away from him. And we allowed him to come in here and drop 27 on us in games. So you lose that at the same time. There's only so much that Bobby Portis can do. There's only so much that Giannis can do. You know, there's only so much that when he's not playing at his top level, Chris Middleton's able to do. Milwaukee has a lot of stuff. That's what I'm saying. This is a tsunami of things happening in them all at one time. So to me, on paper, yeah, it looks good. But when we deal with the reality, no, Milwaukee, and just look at what happened to them last night. They got beat at home by a team that nobody on this podcast knows who was in the game, the whole game for Memphis. Nobody here can mention one player besides Gigi Jackson. That's the only player we can name that played for Memphis in that game, and they beat Milwaukee at home in a game that Milwaukee needed. That's, once again, that's not looking at a roster. That's when we have to bring in the identity. And Milwaukee is going through an identity crisis right now. But it's not anything new. It's one that started way back the way Miami beat them last year, and they haven't been able to recover from that. So to me, Milwaukee is vulnerable to get beat by anybody this year. And that may be a good thing because they may have to go through this year to get back to ground zero to build themselves back up. And then come back next year and know what they're about. Because this year, I think it's a wash with them. I think any team in the East, because of their vulnerability and because they're searching for identity, even with Doc Rivers there, there's nothing Doc Rivers can do in a short period of time with that. And he's finding that out now that he's there. You know, and getting beat again in the first round and not necessarily embarrassed the way they got embarrassed, you know, but getting beat may be what they need to get back to ground zero to build themselves back up to be a championship contender.
All right, we're halfway through our Chicago Bulls NBA Power Hour here on Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. You just heard the legendary Robert Scoop Jackson, Big Dave Watson from CHGO Sports, and Joshua M. Hicks on Air Daily. I am Sidney Brown, along with my co-host, Miss Lakina McGee. I want to ask you guys this as we go deeper into the rest of the NBA. Let's go with the head coach of the year candidate. I have Mark Daigneault of the Oklahoma City Thunder, Chris Finch of Minnesota, and Tyronn Lue of the Los Angeles Clippers. My personal pick for coach of the year is Tyronn Lue, especially if you watched that game the other night, what they did against the Golden State Warriors. Big Dave, I'll start with you. Who you out of those three, or if you have a written-in candidate, please let us know. Who's your coach of the year so far this year in the NBA?
Wow, that was a good candidate. I probably will go with Minnesota. I'll go with the coach of Minnesota. The Clippers, I think, and maybe I should just speak for myself how I felt about them. Like, I thought the Clippers were going to be good when they got Harden. I was like, oh, this is a solid fit for them. He'll work for them. Like, they'll be good. And I guess everything for me is predicated on their health. Like, can they stay healthy and be a team that can do it, you know, for the entire season? If they can, they'll be good. And Tyronn Lue is a damn good coach, man. Like, I don't think he gets enough credit for how good he is. Like, that dude can coach, bro. But that Minnesota team, they went in 1 year from making a trade people were trying to call the worst trade in NBA history to a team that's at the top of the West. You know what I mean? Like, people, when they did that Gobert trade for what, like 5-6 first round picks, people are already like, oh, this is the dumbest trade ever. This is not going to work. He can't play alongside Cat. This ain't going to kick off. They forgot about that goon in Anthony Edwards because that dude is a goon. You hear me? That dude is a goon, and I love it, man. He is, yeah. So I think I will go with Minnesota's coach because I don't think people saw them making this kind of ascension to being the best team in the West. Like, that is saying a lot, bro, for a really, really young team that people thought wouldn't even be around right now like this. So I'm going to go with them. I'm going to give it to coach of Minnesota.
Scoop?
I'm going to go with a wild card on this one. I like everybody you mentioned. I think what Ty Lue has done has been spectacular, especially since he didn't ask for the James Harden situation. You know, that I'm not saying he fought it, but he didn't ask for that. But for him to be able to make that work, especially the way it started off and deal with everything, but even though they kind of wanted it, so they were going to find a way to play together. It's going to sound crazy, but I give it to Tibbs for what he's done in New York. You know, no major trades, he's finally just got a squad together and made the Knicks relevant and scary to the point in the East that they're the team nobody wants to play against. You know, and keep in mind, he has the player that nobody in New York especially Stephen A., like they've been screaming for Donovan Mitchell and thought the biggest mistake the team made was to get Jalen Brunson. So they took that entire attitude and turned it around and flipped the whole organization around. You know, you made a point about Minnesota not being what anybody expected because, you know, nobody expected, you know, that goon to come out of Anthony Edwards. But I think it was all a glimpse of where Anthony Edwards could go. You know, I think we knew what Cat was able to do. You know, and if structured right, it could be good for them. There was a cultural change that had to go on, and Rudy brought some stability in there to them. But what the Knicks have done with no major, and I'm not saying Jalen Brunson isn't a major trade, but there was no major upgrade with them from last year to this year. It's just they found themselves, and you know, Tibbs is like, look, if I could bring my old Chicago Bulls back team together and build that Villanova squad that won those 2 championships, if I could bring that together, then I'm gonna do it. And that's exactly what he's done. And now they're one of the top teams in the East. And not that that's a big thing, but still, man, to me, you know, Tibbs has been maligned, he's been dogged, and this, that, and the other. But for him to finally put something together that's worked to this level is the best coaching job in the NBA to me this season. Because he's done more with less than anybody we're talking about.
Josh?
Man, I won't be surprised if the Timberwolves head coach Chris Finch gets it, especially with the ascension that the Timberwolves have made compared to last season. But I'm going to personally give it to Mark from Oklahoma City Thunder. And this is why. Oklahoma City Thunder last year obviously shook a lot of heads. And with the ascension of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, you would think that someone with that type of rise might level off. He's actually taking it to another level. But on top of that, for them to bring in Chet Holmgren, who they didn't have all of last season, you bring him in to the mix, and not only is he finding himself, he's fitting right in with Shai. It's like a 2-man game back and forth, along with the reserves, to where not only were they playing in the play-in tournament last year, they're actually elevated to now we're the second best team in the Western Conference. I would not have put them as the second best team in the West, but they were. You can tell that this team was on the rise and they're coming. They've arrived now. And the way they've actually maintained this level of play throughout the season with Shai leading the front, and no other major superstar, like you talked about with the Knicks, Shai grew into that. And it's become that dog. Chet is slowly but surely growing into that dog. These are homegrown talents that they are making this thing work and taking it to the next level in ways similar to what the Knicks are doing. But at the end of the day, they are in the Western Conference, a juggernaut Western Conference on top of that. And they're sitting at the top 2 in the West right now, heading into the All-Star break. That's something that no one would have expected. So for Mark to work and put all of that together, and for this Oklahoma City Thunder team to be as high as it was since Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant, that's something special that you got to tip your hat off to. And obviously to Sam Presti as well, who put all of that together and really emphasized player development to a large scale. I would give it to Mark at this present moment right now if I had to cast my ballot.
And I'm not mad, Josh, at what you said, because you got to consider the drop-off that Josh Giddey has had all season, and that may be affected because the drama that's going on that they're still dealing with, his off-the-court issues, but also the drafting of the guy I thought that I had picked 2 years ago to be Rookie of the Year, and that's Jaden Smith.
Yep.
Dude is hooping.
Yes,
like I said during the draft last year, I was like, he's the dark horse because what he did in the in the rookie camps. You know, I'm like, this dude, he's for real. He was the pick of the draft, and to see him elevate to where he is now, where you lose Josh Giddey, but you get another potential, member to whatever big three you're trying to build. That's unexpected. So I'm not mad at that at all. But all that comes to coaching because he's making it work.
Yeah,
who would have had all three of these teams even at the top of their conferences? You know what I'm saying? Going into the season, like for real, man. Like Minnesota, OKC, and the Knicks, like for real. Wow. And Cleveland too. I don't want to take away from Cleveland, even though they're stacked. Cleveland has a team like that, but I don't think many people had them right now, number 2 in the East.
No, not at all. And Josh, you kind of stole my thunder. You know, Mark. I don't know how to say the man's last name.
That's why I never said his last name. I just said Mark.
Yeah, I mean, like,
I know how to say his last name too. I don't want to get it wrong. So,
yeah,
Yes, sir.
you would think I would know. You know, he played at UConn in Florida, so you think I would know how to say his name, but I don't. But to what you said, Josh, I mean, the fact that he's been able to kind of deal with, you know, aside from Gillies Alexander and Giddy and Holmgren, it's basically, I don't want to say no names, but it's kind of like guys that you probably wouldn't, you know, pick off the street or whatever, not to kind of insult them. So if you had them near the top of the Western Conference, we'll get to them in a second. He definitely deserves consideration, and I think, look, all those names that you guys mentioned should definitely be in the running for Coach of the Year, especially if they all finish strong. Now, let's talk about the Western Conference for a second, because you got Minnesota, OKC. I don't think nobody had them at the top of the Western Conference. If you did, I got some Amazon stock to sell y'all. Shout out to those folks. But you got, you know, the Clippers are right there. Phoenix is right there. Do you guys think that who you think will come out of the Western Conference? You can probably say I'll give you guys 2 teams just because of the fact that, you know, a lot could happen these last few weeks of the season. Scoop, I'll start with you.
I got the Clippers coming out. You know, no disrespect to any other team, but I think the way they've been playing, once again, like once they settled in, if they stay healthy, I don't see anybody in the 7-game series really beating them. I got that. To me, it's and nothing good what Phoenix doing, but I see, watch game in, game out, you can see where teams mentally have flaws, and you can see where they can mentally be beat. And you know, with Minnesota and with OKC, you're looking at, you know, inexperience, I think, in the course of the depth of the playoffs, and then getting into 7-game series against teams that they'll have to face and go through in the West. That I think that is that's a component that cannot be overlooked. But I just really, at looking at every team, I don't see anybody, if things stand the way they're standing, we're looking at the way teams are playing now and that transitioning throughout the playoffs, you know, and you're including coaching, you know, because coaching matchups become in the playoffs just as important as player matchups. I don't see anybody really getting through the Clippers. I just don't. And I've been wrong about this before, but I think this is different this time. So,
Josh.
Yeah, I same here, Clippers. And I think the main reason why is because each of the stars know their specific roles now. And for them to make that work with Ty Lue, there's no other coach that I could think of that can even make that work because of Ty Lue's experience and expertise playing and coaching stars that he has. And there's one person that obviously we talk about the Clippers. You obviously hear about James Harden and what he's doing. But shout out to Russell Westbrook. When you talk about Russell Westbrook, who came from the Lakers to the Clippers and still can play at a high level, still playing at 100 miles per hour and being productive, and at times filling up the stats. For him to be in the beginning of the season, lead the movement and say, hey, look, I'm willing to come off the bench. If James needs to start and for this offense to flow, I'll come off the bench and get mine there. For him to make that adjustment, and Paul George already being the unselfish player that he is, by admitting I'm not a number 1 or a number 2, I'll be the number 3 in this offense when it comes to Kawhi Leonard and James Harden. They figured out the correct formula, and they've been consistent with that formula every game, every night. And even with all the players out, the Clippers are still loaded, even on the bench, with the depth to help fill some of those gaps when it comes to the playoffs. Obviously, right now, you had to send some potty poopers back to the crib, and PJ Tucker and Bones Highland. We understand that. But eventually, when they get back in the flow of things and they come on back and they buy in, you could potentially have a stronger bench than what you did have when you had normal power with Robert Covington and those guys. So to be able to have that in place with your consistent starting 5 like that and Ty Lue, that's hard to beat. And obviously, Scoop talked about earlier the Phoenix Suns and how they're not meshing and filling in well. Let's be mindful, especially during the earlier runs. Kawhi Leonard, when he was healthy, almost beat the Phoenix Suns by himself in the playoffs. Just him. That was with no Paul George, no other stars. It was just him, and he pretty much almost took them all out before he got hurt. If that same core can be healthy all throughout the playoffs, yeah, there's no way you can argue that the Clippers are probably the best suited team from a starting five, from a coaching staff, and the bench to make all that work.
Hey, Josh, let me ask you a quick question. I'm glad you mentioned Norman Powell because I think he's an X factor in this whole thing. You know, he should be up for maybe 6 man a year, but it doesn't make a difference. I think in a playoff situation, he's the X factor and can basically win either a game or be the tipping point in the series. My question to you, though, because you mentioned Russell Westbrook, that's probably one of the things we have a problem with in the media. Nobody really knows Russ. I know Russ, so when he did that, it's not uncharacteristic of who he really is. And people didn't take consideration that the players wanted this. That's the LA thing. They really wanted that whole LA connection to get together to see what that was like. So they are taking a different responsibility for what's happening because they're the ones that orchestrated it. My question to you with Russell, do you think Klay Thompson is going to look at what happened with Russ, seeing the power and what's happened with them, with him deciding to come off the bench, and is going to take the situation that happened last night with him coming off the bench for the first time and use that to stay where it is right now? Or do you think he's going to fight it? Is Russell Westbrook's decision to do what he did and how it's impacted the Clippers do you think it's going to have any impact on what Klay is going to decide to do now that they got him at least for one game starting off the bench? Oh, coming off the bench. I'm sorry.
I do. And the reason why is because Klay actually I think Klay received a wake-up call this year. When you win so many championships at the level that you do, going to the NBA Finals every time, you forget that after all the injuries he's gone through, because he didn't just go through the ACL, he went through the Achilles as well. He hasn't played full stretches of basketball for a full season, even in the championship run that they just recently had. He didn't play the whole season. He came back in January, so he wasn't in full shape. The fact that he finally had a full season to go through, and he just finally realizing that I'm not what I used to be, because he doesn't have what he used to have. And now that he understands that, and he sees how the other teammates that he does have are getting older, they can't keep up in ways that he can, you know, and they're going younger. He realizing that that's his only place at this point is to stay in that 6-man role. And I think because he had that good game, that's going to help spearhead him moving forward, knowing that I can still make an impact in this league. My role just has to change. Even looking at Chris Paul. Chris Paul was a starter all his career. This is the first year he's actually come from the bench. And you saw how he's impacted that second unit. So it's not just him seeing Russell Westbrook, even Chris Paul, seeing how he's been able to handle that, and how when you have Chris Paul in that second unit, that offense continues to flow and doesn't always lapse in ways that it has previously. I think those two examples can really help Klay Thompson get over that hump and accept those roles.
So does that make them more dangerous in the West? That's my last question on this to you.
It can, but I think it can, but this is the problem. They still don't have all the other reinforcements in ways that they had in previous years. They still lack big men depth. They still, struggle with half-court play. And their offense, and their offense, too, is so carefree that, if in the playoffs, there's been moments where they almost became too carefree and they almost gave games away. Henceforth, their series last season against the Kings, they almost lost that series, and that went to Game 7. So I think it's other factors that come into it. Do I say it increases the chances? I do.
Okay.
Dave?
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
No problem.
I would say, for real, I would say, the Clippers, for all the reasons everyone stated, obvious, yes, it's the Clippers. And the biggest factor is definitely health. Like, that is the factor. If they're healthy, it's nobody beating the Clippers. But I think the team, again, that nobody is discussing, and was last year too, is the Denver Nuggets. Like, I don't see why the Denver Nuggets aren't being discussed here, because we're talking about the defending champions. What did they lose? They lost Bruce Brown, which was a big loss for them, of course, losing a piece like that. But those young guys that's coming up under him, in Braun and Watson, those guys are really solid, man, and have what I was talking about with the Bulls. What I wanted them young guys to get is that mentality. You know what I mean? Like, kind of went through that fire. Obviously, getting a championship helps. You go through that fire when you those young guys. So they know what to do and they know what to expect. That is a well-oiled machine when they run that offense out there, man. It is beautiful to watch them play basketball. And Joker is a damn monster. And Jamal Murray is still disrespected, in my opinion, man. He's not talked about enough. Again, he's in the West. You know, it's very crowded, especially at that position. But Denver Nuggets scare me, like, a lot. And I haven't seen that loss of hunger from them. You know, I haven't seen that big fall off from them. They're still, number 4 right now in the West. They did fall late to the Kings. Yes, they did do that. But I still think they're going to be a for real problem in that Western Conference in the playoffs, man. And I'd be watching out for them, like, seriously, because if the Clippers aren't healthy and they can't get that thing together, it's going to be Denver, man. Denver will stomp on you and do it while they're smiling. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, those are nice killers over there, bro, but they still killers, you know? So, yeah, I think people should be watching Denver for sure.
Yeah, I think the Clippers too, just for all the reasons you said, but also, Dan, I'm with you. Denver, until someone beats them, they're the team to beat in the West, I feel like.
Yeah, yours truly, Lakina, Josh, Dave. You know, I picked the Clippers to win it last year. Of course, Kawhi Leonard's injury in the playoffs derailed all that. I picked Phoenix this year to lose to Milwaukee in the NBA Finals, but as a fan, I'm cheering for the Clippers. All you got for the reasons you guys mentioned about the health of this Clippers team. And Lakina, we talked about this on our show all year that you have players that know their roles. James Harden doesn't have to carry the team anymore. Russell Westbrook is more comfortable in the Clippers uniform than he was in the Lakers uniform. And Tyronn Lue is one of the best coaches in the league to help guide these guys. So as a fan, I'm cheering for the Clippers, and we'll see what happens come April, come playoff time.
Yeah. Should be very interesting. So I think you got the next question.
Yeah, so I want to ask you guys, it looks like we talked about the Warriors a little bit just a few moments ago, but I want to ask you guys about the Los Angeles Lakers. It looks like, no pun intended here, using air quotes, looks like we may be watching the last days of LeBron James in the Lakers uniform. He could opt out of his contract this summer and become a free agent. Scoop, I'll start with you. What do you expect from the Lakers for the rest of the season? Last year, they made it to the Western Conference Finals before getting swept by Denver. What do you expect from them this year?
I'd be shocked if they get back and make that type of run this year. The chemistry doesn't seem the same. I think they're still trying to figure a lot of things out there. I see the Dallas Mavericks probably making a run like the Lakers did last year, this year, now that they figured that out. So I mean, I don't know. I don't expect much. I put it this way. I don't expect that. I don't expect a repeat of what we saw last year in the playoffs from the Lakers this year. Unfortunate, but it just doesn't seem like they're determined to prove something this season the way last year they seemed to be almost hell-bent to prove that they're going to make this work. I just can't see it. I mean, I can see them getting to what we were just talking about, looking at a team like Denver. If they have to face a team like Denver, because right now the Lakers are basically the Western Conference version of the Bulls. Even though they're sitting at games above 500, they're sitting in the same 9 spot as the Bulls. So I can see them getting into the play-in, but after that, they'll face a team like Denver, and it's a wrap. You know, it's done. It's done. It's quick and easy business. Almost the same way it was, back early during the season. Denver could just take care of them and make life miserable and repeat earlier what they did to them in the Western Conference Finals. Again, it just happened earlier because of the way the Lakers approached this season. So I just really don't expect much. And I'm looking at the teams that they would have to go through. The Clippers could take care of them. Phoenix could take care of them in my mind. Oklahoma City could take care of them. The Timberwolves could take care of them. Denver could take care of them. And Dallas could take care of them. You know what I'm saying? We could go. I don't see a team in the 7-game series right now that I feel the Lakers could actually beat. I really don't. So I don't expect much out of them. You know,
Dave?
pending injury now.
Okay.
Pending injury.
Pending injury. Okay. Dave?
Yeah, and that's wild to say that, you know, like they don't scare you at all. Like, I feel like last year there still was a little bit of fear, even though the Lakers, you know, how they came in and got into the playoffs. I thought there was still a little bit of fear for the Lakers. Like, oh man, don't let the Lakers get rolling. Don't let the Lakers get in here. They might do something. I don't think anybody feels that this year about this team. And LeBron started off pretty hot, you know, which for me, I was like, bro, need you to chill. This 82-game season, he was killing that to start the season. You're a little older, my man, you know, but, you know, can't tell greatness what to do. You know what I mean? It's greatness. So he was doing LeBron things, and the team with Anthony Davis and LeBron James usually should be like, oh, man, this is super formidable team right here. But it just hasn't clicked for them, man. Like, mentally, the things around them hasn't clicked. Like, I know D'Angelo Russell is starting to come on a little bit, you know, and play better and stuff. I don't know. I still don't feel that click, though, with that team. They love Reeves, but I think the league has caught up to Reeves a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, he's on the bulletin board now. When they go into the locker room, they're talking about him and what they need to do and what players they need to put on him. So teams are defending them differently. I think what Denver did to them in that Western Conference Finals, a lot of teams watched and saw and are trying to apply that to, you know, how they defend and how they go against these Lakers, because they're hot and they're cold. Like, you know, for one day from the three-point line, they can hit 33s, and then the next day they'll hit one. Like, that's what a 9 seed does. As we know about the Bulls, this is what they do. You don't know who they are. So the fact that they're so up and down, and the fact they didn't make any real moves either at this deadline, man, like they didn't do anything. And that was a little surprising to me as well, because standing pat with that team that you have, I don't see how you can do that a la Chicago Bulls. I don't see how you can do those things. So yeah, man, like they don't have that fear. They don't have that chemistry. So I don't think they have that success.
Josh?
Dave, outside of Minnesota and OKC, name me a team in the West where the Lakers have an advantage at point guard with D'Angelo Russell that they'd have to face.
That they have an advantage at point guard? Oh my God.
Yeah. Right, because every team you mentioned, he's getting. So I'm saying that to say, I think that's why there's no fear.
Yeah. Because there's no point guard there.
Like, he ain't gonna beat Kyrie. James, Lake Clippers like no. Bradley Beal or Devin Booker, whoever playing point and feeding is like no. You know what I'm saying? We can go through all of them, and like that's where the masterpiece. So, but to me, as good as D'Angelo Russell playing, that's why there's no fear. Yes, LeBron can do LeBron. When AD is engaged, he's engaged. You're right, they figured out Reed, but the fear would be if D'Angelo Russell could win his matchup in a series against other teams. And that ain't happening. So that's why I think you mentioned the fear. I think that's why it's not there.
That's a big point. Yeah, I feel you.
Well, he's not consistent. That's the problem, the big problem.
No, he just started like these past, 15, 16 games scoring and, you know, doing things that they thought he could do for him, but he's still not great defensively, you know, so that means the point guard is coming down and getting those same buckets on him. You know what I mean? So it's tough, but he's right. Like, no point guard, no wins. Like, it's really that simple for him.
Exactly. Josh?
They might as well figure out what draft compensation they got to make sure they draft Bronny. You might as well figure out how you can get Bronny over there. At this point, man, I do. It's unfortunate because the Lakers are still living in the all era of LeBron James. No, he's doing what no one else is doing. No one is coming in at 21 years in the league, averaging 25. No one's doing that and doing it in the way that he's doing it. LeBron is still elite, but he's not elite enough to carry a team anymore. That's just the facts. He can lead it, but he's not going to carry it. That's why you brought in the Anthony Davises of the world. And that's why he's been able to assist and give to AD credit. He's been balling this year. But it's not enough. You got to get more reinforcements over there, which unfortunately right now he does not have. Then the only way that's going to change, according to them, is what we're hearing right now is they got to get that third star. I don't know how in the world they're going to do that with all these assets, and they're trying to trade them, and they can't get nobody. But at the end of the day, if you want to keep LeBron happy at this point, you better figure out how to keep Bronny over there. Because let Bronny go to a team like the Warriors. Bron's gone. Bron's gone. He playing with Steph. I'm going with the Splash Brothers. I'm going over there with Splash. And my boy CP3 and Draymond over there too. Yeah, I'm going. It's unfortunate that the Lakers are going into this consistent run, because that's also the Lakers' issue too. When you get a superstar over there, they get complacent. They expect the superstar to be the superstar. They were spoiled with Kobe. Let's just keep it out there. They were spoiled with Kobe. They were spoiled with Magic, spoiled with Kareem and Shaq and those guys. Because those guys had the hunger and the aggression to constantly win every year at the highest level possible with the Hall of Fame coach in your back pocket. This year, ever since LeBron really got there, that's never really been there except for the bubble. So it's unfortunate. I don't think the Lakers are going nowhere. There's no motivation for any of that to happen. I think LeBron is literally looking at the bidding process with Vegas and figuring out which team's going to draft my son. So that way I know where I'm going potentially next year. Because at this point, LA's kind of cooked.
Hey, Josh, would they draft Bronny just to keep LeBron in your mind?
Yes, I think they would. They're desperate at this point. Because if you leave LeBron and you just got Anthony Davis there, it'll be New Orleans Pelicans 2.0. They don't want that because they know Anthony Davis can't bring them a title by himself. You want to keep Bron happy in Lakerland, your best bet is to get Bronny to come over there. I don't care how you do it. Trade, draft, whatever the case may be. I honestly think LeBron would want that for Bronny to play in LA under the bright lights like this with him by his side. Because remember, Bronny could have went anywhere for college. Ohio State was looking at him and others, but he chose USC because he wanted to be close to his family. And he likes California. Bron is the same way. So I think if they're the Lakers, they're going to do whatever it takes to make sure LeBron does not leave. And they've done it before. They traded away their full package to get Russell Westbrook when that was, even though that deal was a dud. I guarantee they'll probably pull the plug again, especially if Bronny's involved.
What Josh said. What Josh said. What Josh said. The last few minutes here with our wonderful panel. This has been so much fun. This is Second City Sports on Sports on Chicago. Josh Hicks, Big Dave Watson, and Robert Scoop Jackson joining us. Scoop, we didn't have you on, during our early season preview. So if you, Josh and Dave, if you guys want to change your finals predictions, you're welcome to. And who do you think will win MVP? Of course, you got Jokic, maybe for number 3. Gilgeous-Alexander might. I know knowing Jokic, he might want to give it to Alexander just so that he won't have to win it again. And B, if you guys have any other names you want to throw out there for possible MVP, Josh, I'll start with you. Do you want to change your NBA Finals pick? And if so, who and who is your MVP?
What's crazy is I don't even remember my pick.
Me neither, Josh.
Okay, you know what? You can change it then. This will be your first time. You can do. Okay.
Yeah, I don't even remember my pick. But at this present moment, I think my finals prediction, I think it's gonna be Denver and Boston, and I think Denver's gonna take it. I think Denver's gonna repeat. I want the Clippers in there. I really do, but that's the closest team that's gonna be a good matchup for Denver that can take them a full 7 games. And I just think that experience at the end of the day could really take them over the hump. Denver's gonna take this offseason, this playoffs, postseason. They're gonna take it personal again because of the doubt that they've been taking all season long. So I think that's what's gonna take place. Now, from an MVP perspective, yeah, there's a lot of names out there. Obviously, Jason Tatum's in the mix, Joel Embiid, Jokic. Me personally, I'm going with Shea. Considering that when you talk about MVP, how you are elevating your team as well as winning. And Oklahoma City Thunder have not only exceeded expectations with currently where they are right now, Shea has exceeded expectations. He's an all-star, this year. And not just any all-star. I believe he's starting in the all-star game. That is that's elevation in ways that many people probably did not expect when you first saw this young Oklahoma City Thunder team and in the way that they've been playing in the beginning. So I'm giving it to Shea right now, and I do believe it's going to be Denver and Boston in the finals, with Denver repeating as champions, even though deep down inside, I actually do want the Clippers to win.
Well, just for the record, what we're gonna do in an NBA playoff round table. So you can change it then too. So you're not committed to it. Exactly. You're not committed. You're not committed to it.
So thank you.
Yeah, I'll say you're not gonna get it. You're not gonna be able to. You don't need to commit to it. So you can you get a mulligan, when the playoffs start. So Dave.
Well, yeah, I'll say Denver out of the West. I just can't wrap my head around the Clippers being healthy for the entire time. Like, I kind of got to see it to believe it, kind of thing. So with that, I'm gonna go with Denver to win it. I mean, for all the reasons I mentioned previously, man. I still haven't seen Joker stopped by anybody outside of Embiid just busting his ass. But yeah, that's about it. I want to say the Celtics, bro. I do. I want to, man, but man, they continue to just, I don't know what it is, but it's something that they ain't got that just stops them from getting there, or they run up against these dogs like they did, like they do in Miami, like when they run up against them and they can't make it work or make it click, and something always happens. Like the East is always really weird and a little more unpredictable, like I want to pick them, but I can't. So I'm gonna just say, you know what? I'm gonna say Philly. I'm gonna say Philly. I'm gonna pick Philly to go to the finals. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna pick Philly because Embiid was the best player in basketball before he got hurt. Embiid was balling out of control, man. Like he was something phenomenal. And like I said, when I watched him go up against Joker, I mean, it was vicious every single time I watch it happen. It was just really, really vicious and just really mean. Like what he would do to that dude, man. But so I'm gonna say Philly because I expect Embiid to be back, and to get acclimated and to be ready for those playoffs. And Maxey, I just truly enjoy like his ascension and how he's been playing. I think he's gonna be a most improved player, even though I think Kobe White should be getting some consideration for that. But I think Maxey is gonna get that award right there for them. I like that team, bro. I really like Philly, and I think Philly will take Boston because I just don't have any faith, real faith in Boston. And it's not like Philly has given me any of it either over the years either. It's just I probably have more faith in Embiid than I do in Tatum. And that's probably might be what it is. MVP. Yeah, MVP. I think I'm gonna go with SGA too, bro. Like out of nowhere, like you mentioned, like I know they were built to be this, but I think they're ahead of schedule. And as far as where they are right now, they have a ton of picks. We all know this. They got a grip of picks, and they were supposed to be building and building for years to come, and then that ascension was going to come. But they said they were like no time like the present, and so they went ahead and did it like right now, and they just look really, just awesome playing ball. I remember when they got Jalen Williams, man. That was like my favorite rookie when they drafted him. Watching him at Santa Clara doing what he was doing, I was like, this is my favorite rookie right here, dog. And he's doing what I thought he would do on that team, man. So I really like how they're put together. Of course, Chet Holmgren and, all those other boys, what they got. They're really good, man. And I just like what he's done. I want to give it to Luka, but I can't give it to somebody in the play-in unless you're doing something nobody has ever done before. That's my rule of if you're like a 6 seed or something like that. Like if you're doing something nobody's ever done, okay, bet, hand it off to him. And you can go down the list in NBA history. It's like that. Like when guys got it at that kind of seed, they were doing something nobody really kind of saw. So Luka, I think if he can get to a 4 seed, I have no problem giving it to Luka, getting the MVP. That dude is phenomenal. What he scored? 73 on like he is absolutely phenomenal, dog. Like seriously. So, but until that happens, and I see that, I think going with SGA, that's what I'm gonna do. And shout out Joker as well. I don't want to disrespect Joker and what he's doing because his numbers that he's putting up, some of them are better than his first season when he won the MVP, man. So yeah. I wouldn't put it past Joker either.
Scoop.
I'm piggybacking straight on the last thing that Dave just said. As far as like picking MVP, because I believe that most times when it comes to MVPs, there's already pre-made, the ingredients are already pre-made for voters, and all they have to do is cook it. The vegetables, everything has already been picked. It's already been like prepared. Everything's, all you gotta do is throw it in the air fryer, the stove, on top. All you gotta do is cook it. And coming into the season, Embiid was there, Joker was there, Luka was there. You know what I'm saying? SGA wasn't in that conversation. They already had a head start on him. He have to come from too far below to even get to the MVP conversation. And with Joker, with a lot of the voters, keep in mind, already feeling bad feeling that he should have gotten it last year over Embiid, they're definitely putting him on first ballot come now that Embiid may be technically out of the running. So as much as I think SGA deserved the award, I don't think he's going to get it because he started off like, 200 yards behind where Joker's starting point was. And Joker's still there. So I think, Nicola's going to get the MVP without question. Like I said, it's because most of the voters felt he should have got it last year. This is their chance to reward him for it this year. And he practically earned it because he's playing at an MVP level. Yeah. So I think he's going to get the MVP. SGA probably is going to come in second. He's probably going to get some first place votes, but he's definitely going to have a bulk of second place votes in the MVP. So I think that's who's going to get the MVP. As far as the finals are concerned, I have Denver and the Clippers playing each other in the Western Conference Finals, and Boston and the Knicks, believe it or not, playing each other in the Eastern Conference Finals. That being said, I think I'm taking the Clippers to come out of that series, even though I do believe playoff Jamal Murray is a different beast than what we see during the regular season every year. My only concern about Denver is if the Clippers stay healthy and everybody's intact, they have not faced a team with that much firepower, and that's a lot for Joker to overcome. And even though Jamal and he could play at the top level, the X factor is going to be Michael, MPJ. I don't see him. He'd have to be like really, really third guy. And I'm suspect about him the same way I'm suspect about what Jason Tatum's going to do. I'm suspect about him about what we've seen to looking from a consistency standpoint from Chris Middleton over the last years come playoff time. There's some players that come playoff times, you're like, I'm not sure who's going to show up. And in the series against the Clippers, as great as Jamal is going to rise up, as bigger numbers as Joker's going to put up, even with somebody like Zubac's guarding him, they need that third player. You know what I'm saying? And without, Bruce Brown being there to be that real X factor, you're going to need Michael Porter Jr. to be that average 20, 21 points a game, give you double digits at least 4 out of 7 games in a playoff series, play legitimate defense, which could be some timing with him, and deal with the fact that every game he got somebody like either Paul George guarding him or Kawhi Leonard shutting him down, which he's never, ever seen before. And without him being consistent, I think that can be the tipping point of why the Clippers in 7 games can probably beat Denver. On the other side, as much as we haven't seen that come to fruition with Drew Holiday, I think once the playoffs get here, he'll settle in and understand his full responsibility and do from a point guard standpoint what Joe Mazzulla hasn't been able to do from a coaching standpoint yet. And he'll play solid and steady basketball and stabilize a lot of things. I give less disappearance from Jason Tatum than we've seen in the past in a playoff series against the Knicks. I think Porzingis is something that I don't know if the Knicks or anybody can prepare for, especially if he takes advantage of this situation, never being in this situation before in his career. And as crazy as it sounds, with Boston. And like I said, I'm Dave, I'm with you. I want to see it, but I've seen enough of them to know that they have tendencies to fall off. They've never had Derek White before. You know what I'm saying? And he's that guy. He could be that Bruce Brown for them. You know what I'm saying? What Bruce was to Denver last year, White could be that for Boston this year, and he could be that player that gets them in the finals, gets them over the hump to beat a team like the Knicks if everybody's playing on point. So, and I want to apologize. I gave my man Jay Will the last name Smith earlier when we talked about OKC, but I was talking about Jalen Williams. Yeah.
We got you. We get you. It's no problem.
Real quick, looking, I know we got a boogie, but my MVP pick, you know me, I'll go outside the box, especially if this team finished number 1 or number 2. Anthony Edwards of Minnesota. My wild card pick for MVP that people should be talking about in the second half, especially if this team's finishing the top 3 in the East, Jalen Brunson of the New York Knicks.
I think Brunson could definitely be a wild card there in MVP. He definitely deserves consideration, no doubt. I think, like Scoop said, I think Jokic will probably end up winning it again. I'm sure he's not gonna hate, you're not gonna like it, but it's just probably what's gonna happen for what Scoop just said. And I know I had Phoenix going to the finals, but I don't like how they've been playing. I if the Clippers could stay healthy, I think the Clippers could definitely come out of the West. At the East, I think the Bucks will figure it out. I have this thing that they will figure it out somehow, and that'll come together. I think the Clippers win the whole thing again. I'm giving everyone a mulligan here in case you don't feel good about your pick. So that's my pick going into what is it? February 16th. Okay, so that's about it. So this has been so much fun, you guys. Thank you guys so much once again. Scoop, come back anytime. So I'll start with you. Where can people find all your content and on social media and everything else?
Look, Bad Boys move in silence, so I try to keep it real low key.
Yes, sir.
Column every Friday on Sun-Times, ChicagoSun-Times.com sports. My column comes up every Friday, and then it's on the back page of the Sunday paper for the Chicago Sun-Times. Latest book I just wrote is out, the autobiography I co-authored about George Gervin's life, which was extreme experience to go through that. There's always the obligatory, accounts. X, I hate to call it X. I'm still calling it Twitter. I'm not letting Elon Musk invade Malcolm's space like that with the ownership of X. So I'm not gonna let that white man invade Malcolm's space like that. So on Twitter, you can find me at OG3 Scoop. My business is my Instagram account, Strong Island Media Shy, and on Facebook, Scoop Jackson Writer. I stay away from TikTok because we don't need another black person dancing for white people's entertainment. So I stay off of that.
Hello.
Oh my God. Oh goodness. Okay, Josh.
Oh man, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Josh M. Hicks Media. On our daily news, we got a lot of newer things going on. We're still in the rebranding, refurbishing stages, but let's believe we got some heat coming your way. So definitely be on the lookout for that. But you can find all that stuff on my Instagram and Twitter at Josh M. Hicks Media.
And last but not least, Mr. Big Dave.
First of all, Scoop, peace to the Music Snobs podcast also, bro.
Yeah.
I forgot to mention that. Thank you, man. Thank you. I forgot to mention Snobs, man. My man.
Yes, sir. You can follow me on Twitter, Ball Sports, BAWL Sports. Bow. You got to save it like Rick Johnson is saying it. You follow my podcast, Ball on Bulls, CHGO Bulls, where y'all see me, Matt Peck, Will Gottlieb, Marquet, every single day we're talking about the Bulls during the season, during the off season. It don't matter. We talking Bulls and we talking basketball and a bunch of other silliness and other things like that. So check us out on there too. And Scoop, I will definitely be hitting you up to be on that show for sure.
Cool. Please do. I appreciate that, man. I feel bad for you having to deal with the Bulls every day, dude. That's a sad beat, man.
Hey, like I said, when you a positive dude and you joyful all the time, and that get a check to talk about the Bulls, it ain't that sad, dog. Like seriously, it ain't that bad. I'll be okay.
Gotta laugh to stop him crying, right? Is that what it is?
Exactly.
And I love to laugh. I love to laugh.
I love it.
There you go.
All right, once again, you guys, it's been so much fun. Again, I'm sure we'll probably contact you guys when the playoffs starts in a couple of months from now, actually. So so Scoop, don't be a stranger. Come back anytime.
Never,
and
anytime.
you guys, enjoy the All-Star weekend and enjoy the second half, and should be fun. And we'll get you guys back on soon.
Cool. Sounds good. Appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Peace.
All right, appreciate you guys. Take care. Much continued success.
All right.
All right. That was Josh Hicks, Big Dave Watson, and Mr. Scoop Jackson joining us today in our illustrious panel. Sid, close us out.
All right, you can follow yours truly on Twitter, X, and Instagram at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow my Keita McGee on the Twitter, X. Of course, we got to make sure first Scoop. Keo's going to get on the IG.
Yeah, don't forget you can download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms. Please subscribe to our podcast at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including that iHeartRadio app. And make sure you give War Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
Don't forget to catch Second City Sports live in living color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, exclusively on Sports Zone Chicago. One more again, as the kids would say. Catch Second City Sports live in living color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
And of course, you can catch Sports Zone Chicago anytime, anywhere on Roku TV. You got the Roku TV app or wherever you get your apps on your device. Type in Sports Zone Chicago. You can catch our show, Sean and Maya, the Smoke Fellas, What's Up Cuz, all of the great content. It's all right there for you.
And we will provide.
All right, enjoy the NBA All-Star Weekend. Sid and I will have our Siskel and Ebert reviews of that as well. We'll also well, maybe not. We'll definitely have our review. You're Looking Live. Hopefully, Sid has seen it already, so maybe we can talk about it.
Yes, I've seen it. Yes.
Good. Okay, so we'll talk about that on Monday. Of course, we're going to have, I guess we're going to be teasing now. We're going to have our buddy Jared Willis from CHGO within the CHGO family talk some baseball. So definitely have that and a whole lot more. So enjoy the college hoops and everything else in between. For Sid, I'm the king. You guys stay safe out there. This has been Second City Sports on Sports of Chicago, and we'll see you Monday.
Holla!